Patty, can you please let us know who is in attendance in the administration or other public offices?
Safety Service Director Mark Sylvester.
Present.
Chief Deputy Auditor Stephanie Myers.
Present.
Law Director Justin Richard.
Present.
Chief Counsel Earl Wise.
Present.
Income Tax Budget Director Lorraine Patagidis-Moron.
Present.
That would be it, President Pro Tem.
Please let the record show that Councilman Biolan and Councilman Gray are not present this evening, and the Council President is also absent. Community Development.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I have one item. Please prepare an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Stark County Regional Planning Commission for the Massillon Housing Department. This annual agreement is adopted by the City of Massillon for professional services provided by Stark County Regional Planning Commission for the city's housing program, owner-occupied housing rehabilitation, and home buyer assistance. Professional services include environmental and historical reviews, initial home inspections, home rehab estimates with write-ups of projects, inspections during rehab, and final inspections of completed rehabs. The term of the agreement is January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. The compensation is $15,000 per year. The amount is the same as 2017 through 2023. It does have emergency language to provide uninterrupted assistance through the city's housing programs for qualified home to moderate income households in need. As stated, this agreement, in the past we've had this agreement to move forward with Stark County Regional Planning Commission to provide these services for the city's housing program. Are there any questions? At this time, I can bring someone up from administration to review any of this. Each year we have this. All right. So since there's emergency language, my plan is to waive the rules on Monday if we get the amount of votes needed. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Economic Development.
Nothing this evening.
Health Welfare.
I have nothing this evening.
Parks and Rec.
I have nothing this evening.
Police Fire.
Nothing for police and fire, Mr. Lewis.
Public Utilities. Nothing. Rules Courts.
Mr. Lewis, there are two new legislation requests for rules and courts tonight. Let's start with please prepare legislation to amend certain sections of the Massillon Tax Code Chapter 181. These changes are required by recent changes to state law by amended House Bill 33. See attached bill analysis. I'd like to ask the Budget Director if she would come up to the podium, please.
Good evening, Council.
This is Patagidis Moron. We spoke briefly about this a little bit ago. Could you please give Council a summary of what this entails?
So what this is House Bill 33 was actually had to do with the state budget, and they have put some things in place that needed to be changed statewide. So what I was going to do is just highlight, and I think that Mr. Wise also gave you a handout that highlights as well what the difference or what they're mandating. Some of it, majority of it, we already do, so we don't really have to change. So in the new amendment part, it says earnings prior to age 18 are exempt. We already do that, so that is not something that will affect us at all. The business allocations and the state mandates for net profit may change as companies have their remote workers. And what that basically talks about is they can pick, the company can pick a designated area that is outside of Massillon for those remote workers to report to, or say that's where their home base is. Most of our net profit is done through the Ohio Business Gateway, so this is something that may affect us, but we won't know it unless as the year goes on, we'll know more about what we get. We get reports from Ohio Business Gateway, which is a mandate from the state as well. But we do, that's not something we know day to day, so there could be some issues with that. Most of what I've seen, and hopefully this is the way it stays, we don't see so many of our businesses remoting out. What I've seen is, or what we've had, is a lot of businesses throughout the country who have hired remote workers that live in Massillon. So now they're going to withhold in Massillon because they work in Massillon, that's their home. So hopefully that trend stays and not so much the other trend. Delinquent notices cannot be, or failure to file as we call them, cannot be, no longer from the state mandate, cannot be mailed out before October 15th, which is when the extensions are due. We've never mailed ours out before October 15th. We wait for the extensions to come due, so this will not have an effect on our residents. We also, what they've done is the filing penalty. It used to be $25, well, it was $25 a long time ago, and then a few years ago it went to $25 per month up to $150 for a late filing fee. It is capped at $25 now, so they're back to that $25 piece. Net profit deadlines have increased to 1 month beyond the deadline, so they can now, their deadline is in November instead of October. The rest of them have a lot to do with tax certifications with the tax. That's no impact to us. We certify on an annual basis. The amendments are, we need to, if we change our tax, we need to get that within a certain time frame. There is no change to that. And they changed the months that they do contact us, which is only taking that from May to December, and they've changed it from May to November. So that is not an impact on us as well. We just need to put it in our codified ordinances. So that's the basic difference. The only effect that I have a little bit of concern about is that net profit piece. If they start picking someplace other than Massillon with their remote workers, but like I said, that doesn't seem to be an issue right now, but I will monitor that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Mr. Lewis.
So just so I'm clear, on the remote workers thing, if someone works remotely but they work from their home, that business is to report their home residence, Massillon, as where they work.
Yes.
And pay taxes for.
Yeah, this more goes to the business versus the individual, and there's a very long equation that tells you who pays what where, so it has more to do with what the net profit from the business they would pay us than the individual would pay us.
So it's not so much individualized.
Right.
So like these hybrid models, it wouldn't affect those.
Right.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Katagides-Goran. I will sign this and pass this to the other committee member. The second legislation request this evening is to amend ordinance 1137-2020, occupation list of class titles, and add laborer 1 through laborer 4 in parks, senior center, Legends Food and Beverage, Legends Golf, and maintenance for part-time and seasonal personnel. There's an attachment included. Mr. Pedro was unable to attend this evening, but I did speak with him about this on the phone today. And what this is an adjustment in hourly rate of approximately 50 cents to $1 for the laborer 3 and laborer 4 categories. It is my understanding that laborer 1 and 2 were addressed in prior years, and this legislation request is to adjust in a small amount the hourly rate for the laborer 3 and laborer 4 within that department, and to keep in line with the and to be competitive with other part-time employers in the community, and increasing minimum wage to take effect January 1st. Mr. Pedro asked that we increase the laborer 3 and 4 This was approved by the Recreation Board at the November 15th meeting. And I'm trying to remember everything else he said, but I think that's a good starting place for now if there's any questions or comments. Mrs. Harvey-Smith.
Yeah, I spoke to him too, and just to clarify, he said it's to keep up with the minimum wage and to hire people at a high rate if we need to.
Am I correct in that it only addresses or deals with the labor?
No, because I think there's just a few employees that are at minimum wage, and so they will be bumped up like to level 1,
Okay,
the minimum wage of 11, so it does affect them all.
all right. Thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions? I will sign this as well and pass this to the other chairperson and update Mr. Gray. That's all for rules and courts.
Also, Mr. Harmking, on the list, he brought this to my attention. It says effective 12/20/21.
Correct, and the council will get an updated sheet where it is to be effective January 2nd, 24.
Right.
All right, thank you, Patty.
Streets and highways?
Streets and highways, thank you.
All right, finance, we'll start off. Please prepare an ordinance authorizing the auditor to pay various bills, 2023 bills that have been received, and that will be received by the office from January 1, 24, and March 31st, the 24 appropriations. We do this every year, so the end of the year bills will be paid out next year. The next one I have here is please prepare legislation authorizing the city of Massillon law director to enter into an agreement with the village of North Bar. This is an agreement that's worth $14,000 in revenue, and it'll be effective for the entire year of 2024. Do you have any questions? All right. The next group, oh, go right ahead.
Is this the same amount from last year that they paid us, or did we get an increase? Just
Same,
It's the same.
same amount.
Same? Okay. Thank you.
The next group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all the TIFs that we recently passed going the way east. When those ordinances were passed, they did not have emergency language in them, nor did they have language that allowed the clerk to make typographical corrections. So we do have to adjust that, otherwise the legislation won't go into effect until after the turn of the new year, which would mean we would possibly not be able to capture the adjustment in land value that could occur at that same time, which would negate the point of the TIF. So by putting emergency language in place, it would make it go into place immediately. So my intent would be that we don't have to sign these ones, because they're not actually ordinances. They're just making us aware and make a request, a reconsideration. So under new miscellaneous business on Monday, I would make a motion to reconsider these ordinances. That would be one motion. And then after that, I will have to make a motion on each individual legislation to amend it. The amendment would be to include our standard emergency language and to include our standard language regarding the clerk to correct typographical errors. If everybody agrees to that, then it goes to first reading, then we have to suspend, and then we have to pass. So there will be 4 votes times 6. So in the water department is very adamant that I can't do it the other way, just so you know. I've argued that there's ways, and they disagree with me. So, does anyone have any questions about any of this? All right. We also have the budget coming up on Monday. We've discussed this at length. I don't think there are any questions, but I did want to give an opportunity if anybody has any questions for discussion. All right. We do have our transfers tonight, and that'll be all that I have. Municipal court wants to transfer $1 from the sick leave and put it in the salary. Anybody have anything on this? Administration, reduction in annexation fees by $7,582.30, placing it into IT services. reduction of supplies by $55.36, building and rent, $94.64, placing it into gas and oil for $150. Street Department, reduction of salary by $100,000, placing that into servicing contracts. Ms. Lester?
Yes, first explanation, I'm sure you want, is the $100,000 that's in the street salary account. There was additional funds put into the 2023 budget for the street department for a diesel mechanic. The diesel mechanic in the department will be retiring this January of '24. And we knew about that earlier, when we put the 23 budget together. We did go through the civil service process, and we did not have any applicants for the position. Here recently, though, we've gone back out and put the job back out there again, and we did get some applicants, and we have actually made a conditional offer. We're going through all the background checks and all of the pre-employment we need to do. So we will be getting someone. Also, our overtime is down considerably for the year 2023. We had a very mild winter, so we did not have the need for the overtime as well. That's the explanation on the amount there. The transfer that we're doing, one project that we have had wanting to do for quite some time, the back part of the street department, the top of the hill, Anthony Street right there. We're going to redo the fence, put up a new fence and a new gate there. It's wearing and it needs to be repaired. So we do have a quote for that, $29,700. We have about 7 more guardrails in the city that Tom Bergeser has evaluated that need to be replaced and updated. So we have 7 more of those. We're going to get quotes on all of those. We do also have a few lights on the Lincoln Way Viaduct that we do need to repair. They're in need of repair. Alex, our engineer, is working with Tom Bergeser and working with the county to really see who's responsible for that, because a lot of the bridges, it's either ODOT, the county, or the city. So at this point, we really haven't had to do any of those light repairs for a very long time, but we do want to get some of those repaired on Lincoln Way. So we're also looking at, once we get final on that and get some final prices on it, that'll be another project that we'd like to utilize for that.
So the $100,000 in salary is, we have retirement of diesel mechanic, I'm assuming that happened earlier this year, or?
He's going to retire in '24, so we were trying to bring somebody in early during '23 and have them work together through that. So it didn't happen as soon as we liked it to, just because we, like a lot of our positions, we didn't have any applicants apply.
Do we have any questions? All right, the next one is $70,000 transfer, if you want to speak to that. It's in the, that's an auditor's salary, so that's going to be, unless you can.
I possibly can. Are you asking?
About the reduction of workers' comp placed into service, street light services.
So for our workers' comp, we do have money that comes out of the general fund, and then we have individual departments that come out of also. When we go into the budget year, we're not always exactly sure exactly where that figure will come into. We do work hard, on our premiums to do as much savings as we can. So this year, we really did have a lot of savings for our workers' comp, so we had the money there. And the auditor's office pays all of the invoices for utilities and street lighting, and they are short in that account this year.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you. City Hall Public Buildings, a reduction of $1,500 in service contracts, placing that in supplies. Parks and Rec, you see a reduction in salary by $40,000, policeman service and contracts and supplies and material postage. I know that the big chunk of this that I spoke to Mr. Peter earlier today is that there was at Oakville Park damage to one of the buildings due to storm damage. So they had to get that out there, get out there and get that repaired. So that is the bulk of this request. Legends reduced capital improvements by $15,000 and sales tax by $4,000, placement of supplies, service and contracts in gas and oil. Fire department reduction of supplies and materials by $5,000, placing that in service and contracts. Reduction of $4,942.68 in fire department repairs and placing it into equipment. Fire department reducing funeral expenses by $190, reducing uniform allowance by $395, reducing salary in the fire department by $2,315, placing this in the Medicare line item. Then we're also looking at reducing the salary fire by another $4,000, putting it into overtime, and then reducing supplies and materials by $4,000, placing it into fire comp. Any questions? I believe that is all I have for finance. Are there any other matters of business to be discussed? Ms. Creamer?
I just wanted to ask, with the passage of ordinance 124-2023 last week, with the Director of Development, are there going to be any adjustments with the 2024 budget that we should know of prior to putting it up for a vote?
I would have to ask that of Mr. Sims.
Just it's a conversation, and I just don't want to...
So basically the adjustments, so if there was an adjustment, the adjustment would have to come as if we would exceed, because if it came in underneath, we wouldn't have to adjust the budget, because we would just be under expended.
So the dollar amounts in each of those accounts are going is acceptable moving forward for 2024?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, 6:55. Thank you.